Hello, and welcome to this video on the USIP OSP. This is the second video in this series, and will focus on the player's experience during an online role-play. These have been created by C-Change Simulations. The USIP OSP is open source software, free for anyone to use. For help get started, feel free to contact client services at cchangesimulations.com. In this video, the previous video, we discussed the three main perspectives that people bring to the open simulation platform when they use it. We will focus on the player's perspective and the player's experience. While a lot of what happens during a simulation occurs in the player's mind, they construct the world they experience using their own imagination. We will show you how the tool is used to create the environment to evoke that experience. So starting with the player's experience, one can imagine a student receiving email to enter into a simulation. Click on the link, which takes them to a web page to log on. They did first with a list of all the simulations where they have been assigned to as a player. There will be the organization that has created the simulation, the name of the simulation, the name, which may well be the name of the class that they're involved in, what role they will be playing during the simulation, and phase that the simulation is in. I should hear that online role play and simulation, I'll use those two terms interchangeably throughout this entire video. Once they hit the play button, they're into their virtual world. Take a moment to look around this web-based world that the player is in. At the top of the screen, they have a window that contains information that will be relatively constant throughout the entire simulation, and which will anchor them in their virtual world. On the left-hand side, we have the logo of the organization that is hosting the simulation server, and just to the right of that, we have the name of the organization that created this particular simulation that the player is in. Beneath that, we have the name of the scenario, the video introduction simulation. It's not really a full complete simulation, but it's up to show you some features that can be presented to players. So that is the session name, which will frequently be the name of the class that the student is in. For example, class negotiating 320 spring 2014, etc. Right of that is the role that the student is playing. Further down is the phase that the particular simulation is in. A phase is basically just large of time that the simulation can move through, and in each phase, the players can have different capabilities. We'll get into that in more detail as we go along. Then the buttons where the player can check out their profile. At the bottom of the screen, we have a area that currently is only reserved to show copyright information, essentially. And in the screen, information which will be dependent upon whichever tab that the player has selected. For example, right now we are on the Introduction tab. We'll click on the Schedule tab, and scheduling information that has been left to them by their instructor. Tabs are possible depending on what simulation author has or authors have created. For example, there can be a Video Introduction tab simulation. Frequently, there will be a Cast tab where the player will be able to read their public information and private information about the role they are playing, and see images and the public information of all the other acts in the simulation. And another common tab is an Announcement tab, which just has announcements sent to them by the instructor during the simulation. So this is a simple virtual world that the players are presented with. And the player's world can be very different. They may have different pieces of information, different tabs presented to them. And also, each be sitting at a computer, separated, remotely over the internet, or they could be all sitting together around the same table with a different computer in front of them and able to talk face-to-face, but then also electronically through the platform. We refer to that as a hybrid model, used remotely or co-located where everybody can talk to face. The point in facilitating the simulation is the phase. here right now we can see its phase started. Facilitator can change that, and when she does, the tabs available to the players will change, and they will be a different phase simulation, so they'll have different information presented to them.
So now players are in a new phase and may have different tabs shown to them. This tab here typically anchor player tells them what they're going to be doing, gives them their bearings. The next tab on the right we've seen before, the cast tab, that's the same as before. At least has a new tab, the email tab, where he or she can receive email. They've already received an email from the headquarters telling them to keep up the good work. And email to other people and work on draft emails. They have a chat room in this phase where the players can chat with each other. We can color that a little bit, so maybe we'll make Mr. Pink his actually show up in pink and Mr. Blonde actually show up in yellow. The players can chat with each other there and together remotely. And in days also they have a tab where they can work collectively on a document, shared document. They can collaborate in creating. And the announcements tab where an will come in. There's an announcement that they have mailed. There was actually a pop-up when we were filming that indicated they have mail. When the email comes in, the players are notified that email.
We have another announcement. Oh, apparently Mr. Orange has been shot in the gut. Even though these announcements can be sketchy, again, this will construct a whole world of reality around whatever they're told. And of course, then they'll come back with questions to flesh that reality out. These events that occur during the simulation we refer to as injects, and those can be pre out by the simulation authors, and then a timeline added so that the facilitator knows when to fire at the players. Facilitator discretion there, though, is excellent to have because the facilitator can see if they're going too slow or too fast and kind of pace things so that the players get a very good learning experience. Also, we've used video injects before in the past, but it's not something we've recently. But we would like to be able to put in fakes and reports, videos soon. So that's functionality that we're working on. To keep this video introduction concise, I'm just going to show you a few more pieces of functionality and a few more phases. For example, the next phase, the player will be allowed to actually push text himself or to the other players. So in addition to communicating by sharing documents, email, and chat, they can take physical actions in the simulation to indicate their intent. And then the other thing I definitely want to show you is the very important reflection phase. That is where the players get to spend time thinking about what all has happened, and they get to write about what they have learned during the simulation. We definitely recommend that after a simulation is conducted, that the players are put into a reflection phase where they can work on the questions that have been left for them. Here we are now in the reflection phase, and these are questions that have been left by the authors for the players. We're working on the functionality right now to allow the instructor to add additional questions to ask. But after simulation is done, you definitely want to have time working on these questions and then sharing verbally amongst themselves what all happened. We recommend either face-to-face or teleconference for that verbal sharing, but that's a two-pronged approach to reflection where they reflect both personally and then publicly. Recommended. This concludes this introductory video. The tool has a lot more functionality than what we've shown you, and the functionality is always growing. But this has sparked a lot of questions in you and thoughts, and we hope that you use the tool and contact us at clientservices@cchainsimulations.com. Thank you and have a great day.